You mentioned something really good there where, we're talking about that phase of repeatability and consistency. It's like if they don't have those high outputs, they're not going to be able to do that. So I like like how Tony talks about like that speed reserve. I think it's important to understand like just that simple concept of like, okay, soccer, is played typically at this speed. And it's important to also, like, side note, a lot of times the reason we're still training top speeds in the gym during the season is because in most time in sport, you're not actually getting to your peak speed, right? Because you're having to react to people, you have to dribble a soccer ball. Like they're missing that exposure in sport. But like the simple example is like if you have a girl athlete, soccer player, you want her to be able to hit repeat efforts of 17 miles an hour on the field, and that's like what's going to make a play and score a goal. If you have an athlete and she only can output 17 miles an hour at top speed in the gym, you know, is she going to be able to do that at the end of the game? Is she going to be able to run at her very fastest speed of her entire life at the end of the game? Probably not, right? But if I train an athlete and I have a girl that's, hitting 20 miles an hour on a track with a GPS unit, which is a perfect example of a girl I have going to college right now. She's ran almost 21 miles an hour. Then you ask her to run 17, 18 miles an hour at the end of the game. That's a lot easier because that's way underneath her max effort, right? So it's like you have to have these high levels of outputs so that you can repeat these somewhat sub but fast levels of effort on the field repeatedly through the game. And I think that's a concept that's missed. Like I'm sure like your fastest girls in your gym probably look pretty good. Like when you I know you go to some of their games, like they probably look pretty good in the fourth quarter, whether they're or the second half, like late in the second half, no matter what. Like, do you see that with your athletes, or do they look out of shape? Like they're the ones that are like dying on the
Yeah,
field.
no, 100%. I mean, there's rare cases where maybe you have a girl who's just like super fast and she can't recover. Maybe a track, somebody who's spent a lot of time doing a track and they haven't done it, turkey, it's it. But that's just such a rare occurrence compared to the opposite, where they're getting fatigued because they can't keep up on speed. And so they're having to operate at their highest output, and then that just continues to go down. So our fastest athletes, we've actually done some beat tests with a speed test for the actually for the USR soccer evaluation, and my fastest kids were also the ones that were scoring highest in fitness, right? And when I go and watch these athletes play, the ones that are having to get subbed out are not the ones that can hit those high speeds. They're the ones that maybe they're slower. Maybe they're only running 15 and a half, 16 miles an hour, and they're having to run that speed the majority of the game. And that's their highest level that they can achieve. And you can't do that in the end of a game when you're under fatigue. But if athlete to the point, 20, 21 miles per hour is very impressive for a high school soccer player. Just put that out there. That's legit.
Yeah.
And if she's running that speed, it's like, yeah, if you're having to run 17, 18 miles an hour in a game, uh, you're not going to be near as fatigued as somebody who can't even get those times. I mean, they're just going to get beat up the wall. Where they're going to have to use more effort to get their body in front of the person and use more of their mental load in the game of trying to navigate of those fast players. And that's a huge piece of it too, is the mental fatigue.
Yeah. 100%. Awesome. I think there's a bunch of good information in here. I hope a lot of parents and coaches listen to it.